time limit thing. I mean, we've been through this in court a couple of times.
That's a pulled item.
Okay. I am not able to speak on the pulled item?
You can, but you won't be able to speak on it when we bring it up.
And when will that be, sir?
Well, whenever we get to it.
Okay. Well, I enjoy your company so much, but I may have to leave early. So I will go ahead and say many of y'all are up for re-election. And I don't think it's a good campaign message to say, block walk for me. Get your friends to block walk. Contribute to my campaign. Sign up, line up, vote for me. And if you do, I'll give you 2 minutes to speak to me at City Hall. I don't think that's a winning campaign message. I would hope that you would see that most of us try to be respectful with our time, because I respect your time. And Mr. Mayor, I know that we had a speaker on the phone that spoke for 30 minutes, and I'm not really sure what was ever said in that 30 minutes. You, as the person running this meeting, you have the discretion to be able to say. You've already said those things, ma'am, as a courtesy to the other many people in the auditorium that have taken time off from work or their lives or whatever to come down and engage in their democracy. And that's what this is, at a time when the democracy is under attack across our nation. To come and speak is 3 minutes. It's a pain in the neck. No one promised you it was going to be easy when you applied for this job. It is your job to listen to the citizens. That's the basic part of it. And I will again say, thank goodness that in the long ago and far away, we still had that in place, and the citizens, almost 1,000 of us, showed up and spoke for 3 minutes and saved Barton Springs when the vote was locked in to go against us. So please, do the basics of the job. Listen to the citizens. We don't have time to come and make appointments with you in your office like so many of the developers and their mouthpieces. No insults intended, Michael. So we have this 3 minutes, and we hope that this will be something that can sway your votes. Come to it with an open mind, please. It's a hard thing to do. It's the hardest thing to do is to have an open mind. And I know it's hard because I struggle with it. So don't come in here with your minds already made up. Please listen to the citizens. And I think I have more time, but I'm not sure that I have more than I really need to say. And so, as I said, to respect your time, I'm going to go sit down and let some of my fellow citizens speak to you. I thank y'all again. Hope y'all have a wonderful day. Adios.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bunch, your name was previously called. If you'd make your way down.
Mr. Bunch has signed up for item 11, 61, 63, 64, 65, 74, 80, 85, 91, 115, 116, and has time donated for 116 from Roy. Roy, you're here. For a total of 36 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, council members, Bill Bunch with Save Our Springs Alliance. I will certainly not be speaking for 36 minutes, consistent with what Mr. Waley just said, being respectful of your time and only taking what I view as necessary, but I share in his concerns. I'll address 171, though, later, since that was pulled. Starting with, I'll just go in order, starting with item 11. This is extending the Mueller Master Development Agreement with Catellus. And your notice does say increasing the administrative fee paid to the parties, but it doesn't say how much. And every other item you have that has an amount of money, it says how much money. There's been enormous amounts of developer welfare pumped into the Mueller redevelopment. It's time to cut that off. As posted, this violates the Open Meetings Act. It also violates the city ordinances that require the city manager to provide a fiscal note on every item that's going to cost you something. There's no fiscal note posted. The backup also is grossly deficient and violates your direct guidance to the city staff and manager to provide you with information that you need, that the public needs, to assess an item that's on the agenda. Here you're talking about, and specifically moving to amend a longstanding agreement with the Mueller developers. But what's posted is just, we're going to amend this section this way, and we're going to amend this section this way. But the actual agreement that's being amended is not included in the backup. And you have no red line. So there's no basis, there's no baseline to have any way that you or the public can understand what these amendments actually mean. Mueller, as you know, is also tied up in a tax increment reinvestment zone. I assume some of that money's involved in this. That's not mentioned at all in your notice either. So please postpone this and bring it back with a legally compliant notice and a fiscal note and a redlined agreement so you actually know what you're voting on. Okay, jumping to item 61, which also relates to items 64 and 65. This totals over $1 billion, these items, over $1 billion of spending to expand our Walnut Creek wastewater treatment plant, a capacity for treating sewage. Now, of course, we got to treat our sewage. But the idea that you're going to spend over $1 billion on consent with, again, minimal backup that explains what this $1 billion is actually going to buy us. And also building off of years going back to 2019 or so of sort of momentum, sleepwalking perhaps, to expand our treatment plants. Today, y'all claim you're looking for money. You don't have money to protect the environment, implement our climate equity plan. You claim that you're paying attention to the drought and what climate change means for our future water supply. But here you have $1 billion of sleepwalking spending with the assumption that we're going to keep expanding increasing how much water we pump out of our dwindling water supplies, with roughly half of that converted into sewage that is going to keep increasing in capacity. You need to stop right here and not spend this $1 billion and instead commit our city to doing what we've done for decades until just the last few years, where our water savings was matching and offsetting our population growth. We're at a critical juncture now where we know the reliability of our water supply is not there. It's a fraction of what we thought it was just a few years ago. And yet, here you are, just like, again, sleepwalking, as if we're going to keep pumping more and more water, keep generating more and more sewage, and so we have to keep expanding these giant facilities at enormous costs to ratepayers. And then you're going to turn around and say, we have no money to implement our climate equity plan. We have no money to protect our environment. Y'all got to wake up. This is insane. You need to put this on postponed, and you need to tell the staff, come back and let's figure out how much farther we can push this out until we really need an expanded wastewater treatment plant. And in the interim, we're going to do everything we possibly can and spend this money reducing our wastewater consumption. our water consumption, and in turn reducing how much sewage is generated and has to be treated. This is on consent? Seriously? With this skeletal information? Some of y'all are new. I understand, this got started earlier, and I'm just here to roll everything and keep rolling it along. That's not your job. That's not what you're elected for. And my guess is if you take that approach, you might not be reelected. Okay, I'm going to move on. And this is a common theme on another matter later that I'll get to. So that just jumped over several of my items. Item 80. Okay, this is the one that you are actually enjoined by the district court from implementing based on our Open Meetings Act and charter violation lawsuit. You have it properly posted here. You're giving people time. And so it's entirely appropriate that this is back on the agenda, that you're handling it the way the court ruling requires. But this is spending $3 million to study expanding the delivery of the treatment and management of water and I believe sewage as well. It's a southwest pressure zone, so that's probably water. Again, the backup is very sketchy. But this is in the Barton Springs watershed. The recharge zone, this pressure zone, covers the recharge zone for Barton Springs and the immediate westerly contributing zone that also. And it, again, it has baked into this assumption that we're going to build another small city out over the aquifer. That's in direct violation of the Imagine Austin Comprehensive Plan. And so that's as a whole water quality and saving the life source of this city, Barton Springs. But it's of the same piece as the previous items, where you're sleepwalking through this idea that we have to keep expanding and delivering water and sewer service when we don't have that increased water to deliver in the future. And especially in the Barton Springs zone, the mandate to the staff needs to be, okay, yes, we're going to redevelop. There's going to be more intensive development, like at Brody Oaks, that y'all approved. But that new development has to figure out, and we as a community have to figure out how to serve it without spending hundreds of millions of dollars, because this is just a study, but it's in contemplation of hundreds of millions of dollars of building bigger pipes, bigger pump stations, bigger treatment plants to serve development in the exact place that our comprehensive plan says we don't want it. Please vote no on that, and at least pull it off the consent item and postpone it and get better information. Item 85, we support that, buying some preserved land in the Barton Creek watershed before it's developed. Thank you for having this on the agenda. Thank you for moving forward with it. It is a lot of money, so maybe y'all have questions about it. I would hope that you would. On balance, it's a fantastic and important move. Almost never do you regret preserving critical watershed lands, especially not on Barton Creek. Especially on Barton Creek. Item 116. This, again, is in that same mode. It's a resolution, and the posting is, directing the city manager to study options related to removing wastewater infrastructure from within Barton Creek, restore pipe capacity, and to return with an update and recommendation. That posting's misleading. If you actually read the resolution, it's not restoring the pipes. It's, again, the push is to expand the capacity in the sewer line that runs up the greenbelt in the Barton Creek floodplain. If this were amended, we'd be excited about it. If it was amended to say, let's make sure this pipe is not leaking, because there's this pretense in there that this is about cleaning up the creek. That's not what it's about. This is about putting in a bigger pipe to serve more development, some of it outside our city. It's very clear, to increase development in Rollingwood and Westlake, where we have no authority to impose a SOS ordinance. So this is about polluting Barton Creek, about polluting Barton Springs, and about spending this first $3 million in contemplation of spending hundreds of millions more to deliver water we don't have, to treat sewage that we don't have the water to create the sewage to treat. And again, enormous sums of money that has to be redirected towards water efficiency and reuse. That resolution needs amending, or it needs to be voted down. I think that is all of my items on the consent agenda. Let me see here. Just want to double check. $171 was pulled off consent, right?
Yes.
I got that right? Okay. Yes. Thank you for your consideration.
Zenobia Joseph.
And MOPAC, and we're here today in support of and offering assistance as a resource in the study proposed in number 116. And as far back as 1995, we studied this very issue as this project was coming forward. And in 1995, the council passed another resolution instructing the city manager to enter into an agreement to do some water quality stuff and to increase capacity. And the council authorized the city manager to negotiate and execute the agreement for the construction and financing of certain improvements in this line, which then the construction did occur in 1997. And as part of that agreement, when the owner agreed to make the improvements, the city agreed that it would not make any new water or wastewater commitments, reservations, or other types of allocations, or increase the upstream lift station pumping rates so as to cause the Barton Springs lift station to exceed certain capacities. And that was a safeguard both for my client to make sure that they were doing some work for the city, that we weren't going to over surcharge these lines. As part of that study, we studied the line and the laterals, which you will find when this study gets going. It's not just the line in the creek, but the laterals getting to it that leak. We had field trips where we would find stuff coming out into the creeks. But anyway, all that being said, my client stands ready to be a resource in this study and be happy to share any information on those agreements back in 95 and 97. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amanda Swore. Melvin Wren.